What is up, Steeler Nation? We are back with another episode of the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. The kings of the AFC North are back. The schedule is released, and we are ready to break it down for you. Michael Nicastro, mic'd up Sports One. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm mic'd up. I'm ready to talk
There you
Steelers
go.
schedule. This is the first time you and I have been on in a minute without a guest, so I'm going to enjoy just hanging out with you a little bit. But speaking of guests, you guys, if you're watching today, go back in the channel after you watch this episode. Check out some recent shows. Had Steelers linebacker Nick Herbig on, had Jordan Bird, who's a Swiss Army knife we think can make the team. So a lot of good content to catch up on. Daniel Valente last week as well. The stats guy on Twitter. And today we're going to be the facts guys as we tell you the Steelers record.
Yeah, and I didn't want to be a homer when I was doing this, so I definitely went a different route this year, but I still believe, you know what, we're just going to get to it. Sammy, run the tape.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
We're ready. Let's see it. Let's talk schedule, man. It's become a national holiday, just like the draft has. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't get to all watch it together like the draft. These schedule leaks, man, and they come out throughout the day, and you're trying to piece and parse what the Steelers schedule actually looks like. But then you see on Twitter everybody do their WL win-loss through one game 1 through game 17. I like to take a step back a little bit, give it a week, allow us to think about it a little bit, to ponder some matchups, to be realistic, and then give it to you guys, which is what we're doing on this episode of the Sick Podcast, Steelers Crazy. So I don't know. Are you ready? Whenever you're ready, I'm ready. We did this blind. We didn't consult with each other. We didn't ask each other questions. So we're seeing each other for the very first time here today, which should give us a little bit of eye-popping moments, but I'm excited. So let's see it. What do we say?
Bring it up.
Boom. And that's a beautiful graphic. Shout out to the Sick team for compiling that and putting it together. I see more green than red, which is good. It's like a golf score. I always see more red in golf than I see in green. And just like our papers we had graded back in high school, middle school, we always saw more red than green as well. But
yes, definitely. All right.
Yeah, so kick us off.
Yeah, so week 1, we have the 49ers, Brock Purdy versus Kenny Pickett, Nick Bosa, TJ Watt, some of the best defensive guys in the league going to be going at it. So I have the Steelers winning to start off, and I will say I just feel that the Steelers get up for these type of games, and I feel like that they lose to the lesser opponents in the past. So I'm going to go with a week 1 victory. Who would have thought last year when we beat the Bengals? I know we watched that game together by the skin of our teeth, but you don't get style points in the NFL, baby. So I think that the Steelers start off 1-0.
Maybe Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Maybe. But we might be Trey Lance or Sam Darnold. But I guess for me, it doesn't matter. I don't think they're going to win that game. And the reason I don't think they're going to win that game has nothing to do – well, I'll put it like this. It has less to do with the Steelers and more to do with the San Francisco 49ers. I think they're one of the best teams in the National Football League. They proved that last year. They could have won the NFC if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt in the NFC Championship in Philadelphia. I see them as a legit Super Bowl threat once more. You mentioned Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey on the other side. The Steelers had a really weak run defense last year. The 49ers, for my money, always have one of the best run games in the NFL. So they'll be tested up front right away. I think they'll be up to the task. I think it'll be close. But the 49ers, in my mind, are a juggernaut. I could see them getting out of the NFC. It's a really tough week 1 game for Pittsburgh. But I like what you said as well. They do get up for these type of games for sure. I just think at the end of the day, the 49ers
it's a home
are going to outmuscle them.
It's at the
The first time in 37 years.
A home
I'm still
game
going
at
to
the
call it
Act. Is
Heinz
that what we
Field.
got to call it?
No, it's still Heinz Field to me. After last episode, I called it Heinz Field, and we had
Everyone
people
does.
commenting under
Nick
YouTube saying
Herbig
he's still
literally
going to.
still said Heinz Field, so
Yeah, they were
he
commenting.
just
And they were like, he's
nullified
still
it
going to
there.
call it Heinz Field, and I was like, yeah, I am at this point. Listen, no offense to anybody out there that might be listening, but the Cleveland baseball team and the Cleveland Indians, the Washington football teams, the Washington Redskins, I can't get these out of my mind when they've been the same for 27 years. So no offense. Like I said, I'm hoping not to offend anybody, but you get my point.
Yes. All right, we will move on to week 2, and that's the Browns. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this. The Browns are the Browns. I think they overpaid for Deshaun Watson simply because you can't build the rest of your team around when you spend all your money on one player. And I just don't think that we seen it with Le'Veon Bell. I thought that he could have been one of the greatest running backs ever. But when you take that year off of football, I think it just sets you back, more than 1 year until you get ready for that real time. So I'm just going to go with the Steelers victory. Steelers, like even the opponents, like I know in the AFC North, we usually at least split no matter how good or bad we are that season, mediocre, whatever you want to call it. They definitely always, I think did we beat the Ravens twice last year?
Yes, but one, remember, was with Tyler Huntley.
Yes. But regardless is what I'm saying. Injuries happen. You never know. We've seen Kenny Pickett go down. But you also have them winning. I will sum it up. The Browns is the Browns. They don't scare me.
I'll amend it. I think both were with Tyler Huntley. One was with Anthony Brown. Wait, I'm losing my mind a little bit. They might have lost the first one. I can't remember. Anyway, I know we're so focused on the schedule. I think they lost the first game to the Ravens in Heinz Field. J.K. Dobbins ran all over them, and Anthony Brown came in, the third string quarterback in that game.
Yeah.
And
but what I was getting at is that we usually split with the AFC North.
And they did. And
because
that's what
you can throw the records out of the window. So, like, if the Steelers are on the verge at the end, I know it's only week 2, but I know we play the Browns later on again, is that you got to realize that these teams just want to beat each other. It doesn't matter. You can throw the records out of the window.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet, too. Week 2, primetime Mike. I'm not talking about myself. Steelers teams, Mike Tomlin, they win in primetime.
Yes.
They're going to be coming off a loss to the 49ers, as I had here reflected in my schedule predictions. So they come out firing, and they get a win on Sunday night against the Browns.
All right, to week 3 versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I have a loss. Not, Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that he is a great addition there, and they got some other guys over there. But we always play the Raiders bad. I know that we sent Derek Carr off to New Orleans. I understand that. Thank you, Kenny Pickett. But was it Kenny Pickett? I don't know. I don't even remember what I ate for lunch. Yeah. So thank you, Kenny Pickett. Just have to fact check it. But I just feel that the Steelers, these are the type of games that they lose, and the Raiders are, they're always mediocre. They don't, not in the right home about. But I just, it's an away game, West Coast. I'm going to go with a loss.
Yeah, I see the Raiders very similar to the Raiders teams of the last 2 years. 2 years ago, they made the playoffs barely by the skin of their teeth. And then last year, they missed it because, as you mentioned, Kenny Pickett helped knock them out in that incredible Christmas Eve win at home, honoring Franco Harris. I have a win. I think the Raiders are formidable, like I said. I tweeted the other day, though, this is going to be the third straight home game for the Pittsburgh Steelers because Steeler Nation is fired up to go to Vegas. This is the first chance they get to watch their Steelers in Vegas since the Raiders franchise moved over. I'm predicting a huge amount of black and gold in there. It's going to fire up the defense. They're going to intercept Jimmy Garoppolo twice. I'll predict one goes back to the house. Let's say Patrick Peterson. Let's say it right now. Gets his first interception as a Steeler.
Wow.
He cribs it. He's going to score a touchdown.
You're throwing out prop bets and everything.
Throwing it out.
I thought this was just a schedule prediction.
Boom. He's scoring a touchdown on Sunday night. Football, Steelers win their second in a row.
All right. Week 4, the Houston Texans. I'm just going to go for a win because they're rebuilding over there. I think that they're definitely going in the right direction. New coach. So I just think that, they're just kind of in disarray. These next, they're just trying. So easy win.
Yeah, you talked about the Steelers having letdowns against bad teams. They better not have a letdown against the Texans, or Pittsburgh Twitter, social media will literally explode week 4 into the season. So I'll keep it short and sweet to win.
Yeah.
Big win.
Week 5, the Baltimore Ravens are AFC North foe. We both have them losing. I will just say probably because Lamar Jackson will still be healthy week 5. So, he's an animal when he's on the field, one of the most athletic players in the league. So, when he's on the field.
I think if you want to look ahead in that crystal ball, you can see it on your screen already in week 18. We talked about the Steelers splitting these games. Very interesting enough. We have them losing the home game again, just like they did last year to Baltimore. Yeah. Listen, for me, a lot of the reason is just it's tough to win 4 games in a row in the NFL. I had them winning the last 3. Kind of feels like after you play the Texans and the Raiders, you have that jump in competition against the Ravens. Kind of, it's Steelers-Ravens. It's going to be a bloodbath, back and forth game. I just think at the end of the day, like I said, Steelers aren't going to, like we said, they're not going to go undefeated. They're not going to win 13 games. We have to find some losses.
15-1. Any questions?
15-1. They always play Lamar Jackson well. So whether it's Lamar or Huntley, whomever, it's the Steelers probably will be favored in this game. But I'm with you. I penciled in a loss just because of the ebbs and flows of the season.
All right, so
they'll get a win in week 6. That's
6,
a win. It's not a loss.
A win. All right, so then we go and play the Rams on the road. I have that as a loss just because I don't think, I don't really know what the Rams are going to come with next year. It's just crazy, going from winning a Super Bowl to what they experienced last year. I know injuries and, Baker Mayfield was the quarterback for the last 3 games of the season or whatever it was. So I'm just going to go with a loss because these West Coast games, I'm telling you, like, I don't know if it's like the traveling or something. And I know Steeler Nation, I remember the Chargers games. It was like a home game, but there are going to be head scratchers that you're like, how did we lose that game? It always happens, as Mike just alluded to it, is that this is a long season. Like, yes, we would love the Steelers to go undefeated. And, those Mondays after a Steeler loss, you're like, you just don't really want to do it. But, I just think that that's going to be one of those head scratcher losses to the Rams on the road.
This is a really cool game. I would have loved to see it in prime time. Old school Super Bowl rematch.
Yeah.
This is one that I went back and forth on. You're right. The Rams are a lot better than they showed last year. They lost their starting quarterback, Matt Stafford, and they're in the all-world receiver, Cooper Kupp. What team is going to lose their best player, quarterback, and receiver, and still maintain their success? So they're going to bounce back. I don't know, man. This was an interesting spot again where I just kind of envisioned Steeler Nation engulfing this crowd. Them getting up for this game after the bye, I think, is really, really important. They're going to be well rested, and I think they're going to come off of a loss against the Baltimore Ravens. So I see a lot of motivation going into this game, wanting to prove, right, that they can go on the West Coast and win football games. I think T.J. Watt gets to Matt Stafford multiple times. He is a statue back there. I think Allen Robinson, maybe a little bit of a revenge game. We'll say 4 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown.
Dude, you're out here. This isn't a betting segment. You're out here throwing out prop bets. I'm about to call Vegas really right after this.
If it happens, it's going to look really damn good. And if the Steelers beat the Rams, that'll look really damn good for them too. So in an upset, there'll be an underdog in this game if Stafford and Kupp are healthy. In an upset, Steelers win.
Yeah. All right. Agree to disagree. Week 8, Jacksonville Jaguars, Duval. I have it a win. Call me crazy, but I just want the little brother to know that Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, you're doing good things over there, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are still top 5 AFC. So
the Jaguars had a great year. They made the playoffs. They put up a fight against the Chiefs after beating.
Oh, it's going to be a close game. I can see this game being like 13-10 Steelers, but I just think that it takes me back to like when we went back, Mark Brunell and Fred Taylor and
Tommy
those
Maddox
battles.
days.
Yes.
Cordell
yes.
days. Mark Brunell and Fred Taylor was a lot of the Cordell days too.
Yeah.
Even before that, Bubby throw the Bubby Bristers in there. That's probably going back too far into the 90s.
Yeah,
Jags
I was still in diapers.
Yeah, exactly. You still are.
Yeah.
But the Jags, when they come to Heinz Field, something fishy goes into the Monongahela. I was at the last 2 playoff losses.
That was terrible.
The ass whipping they gave to the Steelers in a year where I thought they could win the Super Bowl with the triple Bs. My mind is running 2015 maybe around then. And then the one way back when Byron Leftwich beat them at home in a playoff game, ran up the middle for like a fourth and 11 play, and
that's the name I was looking for.
Byron. Some sneaky stuff in the water, man, and I don't know. It's just one of those spots where I think they run into a team that's really, really improving and going to be a force in the AFC for a while.
All right, Week 9. Our guy Sammy Zananello, we both have a win. He said he's going to send us a box of tissue. I don't think we'll need that. You can save those because what is going on in Tennessee, we really do not know. Who is going to be the quarterback? We really do not know. Is Derrick Henry still going to be the running back? We do not know. So there's a lot up in the air, and it's Week 9. But Steelers and Titans, throw it back to the Houston Oilers. It's just been a great rivalry. And, I just think Pittsburgh, that's the type of game that Pittsburgh wins.
Yeah, the late, great Steve Ignara. You could throw it back to him against some games against Cordell and Tommy Gunn that I remember. I'll never forget that playoff game. The Steelers lost, I think, on a blocked field goal. I'm with you. I don't know what the Titans are. They're pretty far removed from the top seed in the AFC, that team that was 2 years ago. Anytime you draft a quarterback, right, high in the second round, you're kind of in that in-between phase where you don't know who you are either. Are you rebuilding? Do you feel like Will Levis is a guy who can come in immediately and, take you where you want to be, which is the playoffs once more? I'll never doubt Derrick Henry for 1 second unless he's going up against Robert Spillane, who trucked him that one day, our friend. Good luck to him on the Vegas Raiders. Derrick Henry is always going to be a beast. The Steelers have struggled to stop the run, but I don't know who the quarterback's going to be either. They start slow. They know Tannehill's on his way out. It'll be Levis. And against a rookie quarterback, the Steelers usually feast. So,
yes. And he also puts mayo. He also puts mayo in his coffee. So,
oh my God, Lisa Tynes.
Just wanted to make sure you were still up. All right, week 10, the Green Bay Packers. I have a loss. You have a win. I just feel like, again, it's a long season, and I didn't want to be a homer and do all wins. And I think that we'll just kind of touch on this too. So week 11 at the Browns and Bengals, kind of talked about them earlier. The Bengals, I feel like, you're playing at the Bengals. Like we've seen what they did last year. They're probably not slowing down. The Browns are the Browns, but I feel like that they're always going to play us no matter what. So I have the week 11 at the Browns loss and the Packers loss. It's just, again, it's a long season, and these can be, I'm not a mind reader. It's a 50-50 shot. So if I had to pick one of these losses to be a win, I would say the Packers, just simply because, it's at home, but the Browns and Bengals is definitely going to be tough. Playing them twice, AFC North rivals. So I just, this is where I have a little skid, and then it gets better after. So you can just touch on
Steelers of the last couple of seasons have had skids of at least 3 or more games, losing streaks. So I get it.
But it gets better. It gets better.
I don't have that. Yeah, and similar to last year. My goodness gracious, you start 2-6 and you end up almost making the playoffs. So those runs will happen.
Just think of how many TVs were broken before.
Yeah.
Week 7.
People are going to be tweaking if they lose 10, 11, and 12, like you have that. But, the schedule lightens up after that. I'm with you. The divisional opponents right there back-to-back. It might be the toughest 2 games of their schedule the entire season up until maybe week 17 and 18. But at Browns, at Bengals, just maybe tripping up there a little bit prior to what I think is a pretty easy slate also.
Yeah, so then we'll speed it up a little bit. So week 13, the Cardinals – what's going on there?
They're bad.
They're bad. Yes.
That's a win.
So
it better be a win.
So that's it. That should be an easy win. The Patriots, Juju back. Does it create any sort of spark for them to play with? The Patriots, I think that they're not going in a good direction. So we both said win. The Colts, I mean,
they're bad.
It's the Colts. The Colts might be the worst team that we play this year. They're very bad, but young and promising. So best of luck.
Yeah, young and fun. I mean, Anthony Richardson is a developmental guy. We'll say this about them.
Yes.
He should be starting by week.
We actually met him. We met him at the Combine. A great guy.
He's just a dude who's going to take some time, though. You know? And so he should be starting week 15.
What is the old saying? Rome wasn't built in a day.
Wasn't built. Yeah, you love that saying. That's your favorite. You should get that tattooed on your neck.
I am. Well, on your bachelor party, I'm going to get the Steeler logo right behind me on my left bicep, and then I'll get that
the sick
on my
logo
chest.
too.
Yes, of course. So, okay, so then week 16, we're back at a home game with the Bengals. I like that to be a win just because. I mean, we really played we beat the Bengals week 1 last season, and even the last game, we were still in it. It was a shootout. So I definitely think that, we just played the Bengals well. I know that, they're doing big things over there, but it's still the rivalry. It goes back to what I was saying. So I'm going to take that as a win. You have it as a loss. So just touch on that.
The toughest part of when I dissected the finality of my schedule was realizing the fact that I had the Steelers going 2-4 against the AFC North. Because you're
you wouldn't have been able to sleep.
I wasn't able to sleep that night. I think what that boils down to is the fact that they're right there for me as the best division in the National Football League. The AFC East obviously is tough. Jets, Bills, Dolphins, but I think the third place team in the AFC North, which would probably be the Steelers or Ravens, are better than the Dolphins. I think the fourth place team in the AFC North, the Browns, are better than the Patriots. I really do. So this is a really difficult division. Lamar Jackson will be back. Joe Burrow will be at full strength coming off another AFC Championship loss to the Chiefs. The Bengals are really, really good, which leads me to a crazy prediction I'm going to have coming up. But I have them losing twice to them in the regular season. Hopefully in this game, we get a little Joey Porter Jr. versus Jamar Chase one-on-one on the outside. Yeah. I would love to see that in week 16.
Most definitely. Okay, so we wrap it up with the at Seahawks. We both have that as a loss. Seahawks, Geno Smith, Lockett. I mean, those guys over there, I mean, they're just a respectable franchise. And, we've seen what they did last year, and hopefully they can improve on that. I just have it as a loss because, again, after all that winning, the ship doesn't always sail right. But
it's tough to go out west 3 times and win all 3 games, right? I have them winning 2 of them already. You had them losing both, so you have them losing every time they go to the West Coast. Yeah. Rams, Raiders, and Seahawks. I had them winning the first 2 out of 3 there, so I just don't think they're going to win every game out west. But I think the Seahawks are going to regress.
It's tough. It's tough. Yeah, I mean, definitely. And then the last week 18 at Ravens, I have that as a win. And I have that as a win specific for this reason is that I believe that this is going to be a must-win game for playoff implications. So the Steelers in do-or-die situation, Kenny Pickett with 2 minutes left on the clock, that's money all day, baby. So we both have the Steelers winning to end the regular season, and then we have we are both at 10-7. So before we wrap up this episode, do you kind of let's give our, this is then we'll. The other episodes that we have coming out, we'll get back to, breaking down ball, but we just wanted to do this since the schedule was released, and make sure that you subscribe wherever you're listening to podcast at the Sick Podcast Steeler Crazy, YouTube, follow us on Twitter, Sick Pod Steelers, J York Football, Mic'd Up Sports One. We're just constantly, and Mason Rudolph's coming back to Pittsburgh. So it's going to be a good Christmas nonetheless there. But yeah, I mean, so my prediction before I throw it off the mic and we hop off air, for the Steelers is 10-7. I think that they're going to play the Cincinnati Bengals in the first round because they would be a wild card, right? Unless they have a bye.
Yep.
Okay, so I will say that the Steelers will win one playoff game and then lose in the divisional round. And then they'll be back next year, AFC Championship. And then the following year, there will be a Super Bowl parade in Pittsburgh. I went 3 years, but I just wanted to solidify that prediction right now so we can look back on this and say that that's what it is. Patience is a virtue, and you just need to learn, Steeler fans. I mean, look at what Pittsburgh Penguins missed the playoffs for the first time in 16, 17 years, whatever it is. So basically my whole life. So
I think maybe the biggest question right now surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise is, what would you consider to be a successful season? And I'm with you. In year 2, I don't think that's a Super Bowl victory. In year 2 with Kenny Pickett, I should say. A successful season for the Steelers is going to be defined by, can they win a playoff game? Not just get to the playoffs, but can and will they win a playoff game? I think they're going to sneak in as the 7 seed at 10-7. I think they're going to play a 2 seed, right? If they sneak in as a 7 seed, there's my final game predictions and record. I think that 2 seed
Wizard
could be the Bengals. I would love for it to be the New York Football Jets. I think that team is pretty damn good. They beat the Steelers last year with Zach Wilson, and they replaced maybe one of the worst quarterbacks in the league with one of the best quarterbacks in the league still. I firmly believe Aaron Rodgers, qualifies for that title. He won back-to-back MVPs before last season.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Jets could be the 2 seed, Steelers 7 seed. Man, that would be cool if Pittsburgh goes there and beats them in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers hasn't had a lot of success in the first round recently, losing to the 49ers a few times.
Terry Bradshaw and Joe Namath can do the coin flip.
There it is. Steelers 7 seed, but they're going to win a playoff game in a big upset, and we're going to consider this a successful season, even after they lose in the divisional round.
Amazing. Well, we really did enjoy breaking down the Steelers' schedule. We are excited, for the upcoming season. It's a new era, a lot of offseason move, a lot of great draft picks. Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin always shutting up the haters. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So we're going to be doing it all year round. We have a lot of great guests lined up. So make sure you subscribe to the Steelers Crazy Sick podcast, the sickest Steeler podcast on planet Earth. I am Jay York Football. This is Mic'd Up Sports 1. And stay crazy. Sammy, hit it!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.